Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Diwali. This session is the best Diwali gift we could have asked for, and I'm sure that it's going to be a cracker of a session. Aashirvaad means blessing, and it's truly a blessing to have ITC in our lives, especially for those who are from Calcutta. The Virginia House on Chaurangi Road is a majestic testament of Calcutta's corporate legacy, and we share a 110-year bond with this tobacco major turned FMCG major. Even though it is a relatively new entrant in the FMCG segment, it has been a mover and shaker in a short while. While Wills has changed our lifestyle, Fabel has whetted our sweet tooth. Every grain in our rotis comes from Aashirvaad, and meals complete are not complete without it. Tea time is not complete without sun feast dark fantasy that melt in a mouth. Yippee noodles are our lifesaver whenever we are in a soup. Though we all love the dal bukhara at ITC Sonar, thanks to MasterChef, we can enjoy that same mouth-watering recipe at home. The Fiamma de Wills range of bath care products adds a dash of freshness to our lives. School-going kids excel with classmate, their best friend when it comes to writing products. Our farmers, the lifeline of our nation, can dream of a better life to initiatives like e-Chopal. ITC removed the dots in its name to signify no stops for ITC. And we agree ITC is unstoppable. Before I introduce our guest of honor today, I would like to thank our mentors, Mr. Vishnu Dhanuka and Mr. Sanjay Bhuwania, for giving us an opportunity to study such amazing businesses and invest in them, thereby achieving financial independence. Thank you, Millennium Mams. And this session especially wouldn't have been possible without our ex-president, Sunanda Awasthi. Thank you, Sunanda, for making our dreams come true. Our guest today is an alumnus of IIT Kanpur and Wharton School of Business, Mr. Sanjiv Puri, Chairman and MD, ITC Limited. He began his career in one of ITC's production units and has risen to the helm of affairs. He believes that businesses must serve a larger purpose, like ITC, by empowering rural communities through the e-Chopal ecosystem or by creating world-class Indian brands that create greater value for the customers. He is contagiously optimistic about the future of India and the enviable contribution by ITC. A very warm welcome, Mr. Puri, to Millennium Mams Forum, and I would like to request you for a keynote address. Over to you, Mr. Puri.
Thank you, Rachna. So I must say, first of all, you've made my day with the generous words that you've used, and after hearing your thoroughness of what about ITC, I'm wondering whether what I'm going to say is already known to you. So I'm wondering whether this session is really required, because you seem to have immense knowledge, and if that is representative of your colleagues from Millennium Mams, then I think maybe I'll be a little repetitive. But please free to kind of point, just kind of raise your hand and say, we know this, let's move on. I'm happy to move on and focus on stuff that would be of interest to you, right? And delighted to be here. And I must also confess that is the first time I'm making to, speaking to a set of, very smart investor ladies. And I mean, normally the group has had, of course, ladies, but it's not been ever an exclusive group apart from your mentors. So it's very interesting. So let me start. My colleague has helped me put together some information. So we just thought that we will use that as I'm speaking, because we are not physically present in a room. And as we discussed, there are three parts of what I'm going to speak about. I was asked to speak about the macros a little bit. I will speak about it briefly, consumer trends, and then I'll give you a little story about ITC. I don't intend covering financials as investors. I'm sure you've been reading all our financials. I just want to tell you about how ITC conducts business and what is our approach, right? Yes. So let's start with the macros first. Very clearly, you know, of course, the pandemic has been a discontinuity. Nazeeb, you could keep on moving the slides. And what we've seen, of course, is that sequentially, the macros have improved, whether industrial production or whether services export, but they are below pre-COVID levels. The only sector that is above pre-COVID is really agriculture, and the hospitality and tourism is under serious stress. But, you know, the most important points to note really at this point of time while things are improving is that you can move to next slide to see that the economy is going to compress this year, is going to decline. The various estimates, maybe about 10% seems to be a common estimate. But more importantly, the challenges we face are, number one, is that the capital formation or fresh investments are not happening. If you can just, go back to the last slide. If you see the top, the bottom right-hand corner, you see all the red bars there. You see the investment in the economy is not happening. That determines future prospects, future productive capacity. That's, to my mind, the biggest concern, right? Second is, as far as jobs is concerned, the data seems to suggest that, you know, the urban unemployment is similar to pre-COVID. But what is important is that the labor participation rate is actually lower. So jobs are declining. And a lot of jobs that have declined also are in the middle age bracket. The third point is to do with the scenario of COVID right now. You can move forward, Nazeem. Yeah. It's not only India. I think globally also we have a challenge with the second wave or third wave, whatever you call it. That's the other big risk that is there at this point of time that can stall economic activity, both domestically and overseas. And Europe is a concern because Europe is our largest trading partner. 11% of our exports go to Europe. So that could also have its impact in India. It could also have some modest impact on supply chains also. So this is a monitorable as far as is concerned. So overall, things are progressing well, but clearly we are not out of the woods. There are things to be monitored, and there are potentially risks also as we go forward. And as far as trends are concerned, I think let me start by saying that, you know, before the pandemic, there were certain undercurrents. Normally what happens in a discontinuity or black swan event is that certain undercurrents that are pre-pandemic tend to get amplified. And some new trends emerge. And as the pandemic ebbs, you will find that some of these trends will kind of mute a little, but settle at an elevated level. And some trends may disappear altogether. So what is it that we are seeing today? Very clearly, consumer is not compromising on safety and hygiene. That's why you see a surge of these kind of products. Because of, again, safety, there is a move towards trusted brands. There is essentials are doing well, discretionary spends are down. We are also surprisingly seeing that consumer durables are doing well, and that is because the home has become the epicenter. So people want to equip their homes well. So that's where we are seeing some uptick as far as consumer durables is concerned. There is uptick in auto, etc. Now, the industry is not sure how much it would sustain, whether it's pent-up demand or whether it's those people who wish to now use a four-wheeler because they no more wish to use a public transport and can afford it are doing it. But going forward, what will happen given the overall economic issues that we face? E-commerce and neighborhood stores, e-commerce particularly has surged. That is to be expected. excuse me, there is a thrift mindset, value-seeking behavior. There's a lot of focus on convenience foods. We are suddenly seeing ready-to-eat, frozen foods, and so on and so forth. There is a surge, and the resurgence is more from Bharat, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns, rural, urban. The metros are not doing as well. This is broadly where we stand as far as consumer is concerned. Now let me turn on to the ITC story, and I'm going to preface it by really looking at where the world was even before the pandemic, because I do believe that even before the pandemic, we were on the throes of a massive crisis. Let's move on. You see, in the last 50 years, the global GDP has multiplied 85 times, 1 trillion to 85 trillion. But so has social inequity. 1% of the richest own so much of wealth in the world. That's been that's a big challenge. And whilst we have social inequity and we have large scale unemployment, the hassle also is that the environmental and natural resources have been depleted. There's not enough natural resources left in the world. The Earth Overshoot Day it was on July 29th last year. That means by July 29th, I have used all the planet's resources that were meant for the entire year. So I actually need 1.75 times the planet, which is not available. 5 billion people, half of the world, will live in areas of acute water shortage by 2050. We've all heard of severe forest fires. So forests which were carbon sinks have become carbon emitters. So this is just to give you a flavor of the serious environmental challenges. And added to this is by 2050, we will have 10 billion people on Earth, increased by a third. And National Geographic has estimated that in the next 40 years, all the farmers in the world have to produce as much food as they have produced in the last 8,000 years. That is the magnitude of the challenge to take care of food security. And this is in a situation where water and the environment, the soil has got severely degraded. So it's a massive, massive crisis we are facing. And India mirrors this trend. We have the world's largest bank of poor people. We have so many people looking for employment. 54% of India is water stressed. Intensity of weather events, cyclones, droughts, floods. If you map the last few years, you will find that we are experiencing more events, more severe events, changing patterns. You know, like even if when I say I'm getting the same rainfall in a season, actually what's happening is the number of days of rainfall is less, but each day there is greater amount of rainfall. So the urban system is not able to manage it. Even your water harvesting structures are not able to manage it. Water is just running off, right? Okay. So it's really a challenging environment. And I think in this environment, it's important, and this is what we believe in ITC, that businesses have to recognize that we cannot succeed in societies that fail. Businesses are ultimately meant for nation building, are meant for economic empowerment of society, and therefore we have to work in a fashion that what we call is responsible competitiveness, in a fashion that we are competitive, we are inclusive, and we are sustainable. That's been our guiding philosophy. I'm going to explain you through some examples quickly as we go through. Let's move on, Nazir. So we have in ITC, can we move on, Nazir? Yeah, this is our range. I thought I'll just give you the full range of our businesses. We are largely into 4 businesses: FMCG, hotels, paper, packaging, agri, and we also have a smaller information technology business. Within FMCG, aside from our traditional business, there are 5 verticals: foods, personal care, education, stationery, agarbatti, matches. And Rachna, you, I think, covered most of it when you spoke about it. So maybe all of you are aware of it. Let's move on, Nazir. We have a pan-India footprint with about 200 manufacturing locations. We can move on, Nazir. Yeah, these are some of our brands. There are 25 brands. And these have been created in about a decade and a half. Consumer spend of close to 20,000 crores. And what we are proud of is these are Indian brands. So whilst the Indian marketplace is filled with global brands where value also gets exported, these brands are created in India, intellectual property is created in India, value is entirely captured in India, and they support inclusive value chains. And if you were to map the way you were mapping the journey of ITC, if you were to map an average consumer's journey in India, you would find from the morning till the evening, right from, when you brush your teeth, to you shave, to you put the aftershave or the coffee you use or the water you use in the office, you will find that India has become a big hub of it's getting dominated by foreign brands. Yeah, competition is welcome, but I think India also needs to have its own brands, which will be big and over time go out and bring value into India. So that's the philosophy with which we have operated with. Can we move on to the next slide? Just to give you a flavor of, I think you're all familiar with it. This is some of our foods brands: Aashirvaad, Sunfeast, Bingo, and then we've got confectionery and we've got juices as Be Natural. This is our range of personal care products. Let's move on, Nadeep. Yeah, let's move on. We can move on. Yeah, and just to give you, previous slide, please. The five, six pillars, the strengths of our FMCG business. And I'm going to spend most of the time on FMCG because that's a new baby on the block. I think traditional businesses you're more familiar with. There are 6 pillars to our strategy. The center of that is the power of synergy. Then it's about purposeful innovation, purposeful brand, the strength of our traditional strength of our deep and wide distribution, a power of digital, a very efficient supply chain. Those are the fundamental pillars of our strategy, and I will walk you through some of them very quickly. Let me start by explaining what I mean by synergy. And you spoke about Aashirvaad Atta. Nazeeb, can you move on to next slide? Now let's see what all goes into making Aashirvaad Atta. Atta is seen as a simple product where you can buy wheat and millet and kind of pack it. But we have to give our consumers consistent product year after year. And as you know, as in your role as housewives, the agriculture produce is not the same every year. It changes from year to year. But yet we have to give them consistent outcome. And second is that India is not just one India, it is many Indias. Tastes in India are different in different parts. So our cuisine expertise from hotels helps us in understanding cuisine. So the atta you will get in South is very different from North. So it's got, the blends are customized. And because we have the agri-sourcing backend, we are able to grow the varietals that are required. We are able to segregate quality at the farm gate so that I can blend it to give a consistent product. And more importantly, one of the biggest risks to food is through agriculture. That is where the whole issue of pesticides, etc. comes. And because of my back end, I actually, for example, before I buy wheat, I actually do a crop survey and I don't buy from hotspots. So unless I can ensure that the back end is robust and safe, it is never foolproof as far as the product is concerned. That is how we are able to ensure safety in our product. So here you see the expertise of agriculture, hotels, our technology center to blend it, traditional strengths of distribution coming together to create brands in food. That is the power of synergy. Let's move on. And then, can you move on? Yeah, okay. Just to give you how we have scaled up in the last decade, 4x scale from about over 3,000 to close to 13,000 now. We're the 3rd largest FMCG player and 3rd largest foods player amongst the fastest growing. Let's move on. These are the size of some of our brands, and they have got very good appreciable stature in a short period of time. Aashirvaad you spoke about, Sunfeast is 4,300 crores, Bingo 2,700 crores, Classmates 1,400, and so on and so forth. What is missing from here, that's a development of this year, is Savlon also has become a 1,000 crore plus 1,000 crore brand. So let's move on, Nazeeb. And all these brands have, many of them have leadership position in the industry. Aashirvaad is number 1 in atta. Sunfeast is number 1 in cream biscuits. You spoke about Chocofills. Bingo is number 1 in the bridges segment. And in chips, we are number one in the south, not yet all over India. Yippee noodles, we are number two. Classmates, we are number one. And so on and so forth. All our brands that have been around for a period of time have got standing and are continuing to make progress. Let's move on, Nazim. And I think most important pillar of our strategy is our deep investment into research and development. We have a large ITC Life Sciences and Technology Center, 350 scientists, 900 patents. Let's move on, Nazim. We can move fast, okay. And we have used this to bring, just previous slide, please. We've used it to bring to the market some first time to the market innovations. Can you put the slide with Chocofills, Nazim? So you have to go back, Nazim, Chocofills. Yeah. So we spoke about dark fantasy you are aware of. Let me also give you an example of Yippee noodles. When we entered noodles, it was dominated by one player with 90 share. So our insights told us that kids love to slurp noodles, and all noodles in India are square. So you have to break it because pans are round. So we conceptualized this round noodles, and we needed non-sticky noodles because as mothers, sometimes you make the noodles and you have to chase the kids to come and eat it. Then it gets lumpy, and hotels help us create the taste maker here. And that's how this successful brand was created. You can see the pocket engage here. This was an innovation again to disrupt the market, to increase penetration. Of course, this is a category that is deeply stressed at the moment, but it did disrupt the market when it was launched. Let's move on, Nazim. And there are interventions to premiumize the portfolio. For example, this Fiamma that you see here is a fragrance with encapsulated technology. So the fragrance stays on your body, makes you feel fresher even hours after you've had your shower. Let's go on, Nazim, next one. And we have a range of, we have a deep focus on health and wellness. So we have a range of healthier products. We have Be Natural immunity juices. We have digestive biscuits, which does not have maida, has no artificial sweetener, no sugar. That is called the All Good Digestive. We have Veda Mari, with the benefits of the 5 Ayurvedic ingredients. Even we have some interesting potatoes. We have potatoes, low sugar potatoes, and potatoes rich in natural antioxidants. So a lot of innovation happening in this space. All right. Just to give you a flavor of how we approached the period of the pandemic, because things changed dramatically. So the first, as we read it, as we saw the consumer behavior, the first requirement was personal protection, which was largely there in the market. But we kind of reinforced it by some advanced solutions under Savlon Hexa. Then people were looking for surface protection. So the surface protection was launched within 4 weeks of the lockdown. And then as winter is coming, all of us are looking for fabric protection, because when you come back, you cannot kind of wash your woolens again. Every day you cannot wash your woolens like your normal clothes. So that is where we have just launched the fabric disinfectant. And as people wanted something on the go, so the pocket disinfectant came. And then, of course, there is also the spray and wipe, and people were also looking for solutions to what to do with fruits and vegetables. So Nim Wash came in. It's a 100% natural product. There's nothing synthetic in it. And then, of course, for on-the-go solution of wipes and masks also came in. So all this 71 launches actually happened within first 4 to 5 months of the lockdown, and all this happened. All these were developed while we were on a lockdown phase. And these were some of the other things that we brought to the market. And these are some more organic spices. And then we have some cooking solutions for the home, cakes. Let's move on. And of course, some interesting stuff from agarbatti. People were missing the popular temples they used to go. So we created these agarbattis which reflect the favorite fragrances of the gods in that temple. So if you miss the Puri Jagannath temple, there's an agarbatti that has got the favorite fragrances of Lord Jagannath, and it's made out of flowers that are taken from the temple and extracted, made by women in that command area. So that was one endeavor, just to connect people to the temples as they were closed. And we also launched low smell agarbattis. And of course, we've been investing on communication. Nazib, go forward. a lot of and there's a lot of recognition we've had on communication. I just want to call out something on the last slide that's to do with Savlon. I think I'm calling it out because it's a proud moment for India. The Savlon Healthy Hands campaign actually won the Grand Prix last year, which is the first time India won it. And this year it won the Iconic Campaign of the Decade Award. So it's the first time India has won that kind of campaign. Let's move on, Nazim. And this is, of course, something that, the recent hand wash campaign, which has gone viral with over 100 million impressions. I'm sure many of you have seen it. If not, we'll be happy to share it on WhatsApp. Let's go on, Nazim. And as I said, digitization is a focus. So there's a lot of consumer engagement around digitization. And even our Mangaldeep brand has conducted some live pujas, etc., where a lot of people could kind of participate. Very, very special pujas. And as the pandemic came in, the normal distribution strengths were constrained because people were confined. So we were quick off the block to innovate with things like ITC Store on the Wheels. We were first with partnerships with Domino's, Denzo's, Swiggy, Zomato, and so on and so forth. And we also quickly launched a workable ITC e-store. I mean, this was like really on the fly. It's only now that we are kind of fine-tuning it based on the response and creating it into a formal e-commerce platform. So multiple things happened. Let's move on, Nazim. And I'm not sharing too much of financials. I'm just putting this because one of the things that investors normally ask us is the profitability of FMCG. And just to put it in perspective, our FMCG reflects segments that we are incubating, segments that are gestating, and segments that are relatively larger. So there's a lot of investment in brand building, investment in capacity that we are creating, and we are creating capacity for a large scale up. So there is in the short term, there is pain on account of capacity costs. But having said that, with some of our portfolios coming to scale, we are seeing continued upward trend, and we are continuing to grow ahead of the curve. Quarter 4, we grew well, and last 2 quarters also we grew quite well. Let's move on, Nazim. And this is just a picture of one of our recent facilities that we have made in Kapurthala, a large foods facility. And we have about 12 of them in the country now, almost getting ready. Some are going to be commissioned. These are going to give us large-scale scalability in future, and are going to give us structural advantages by being proximal to market, and also because we are fashioning a proximal agri-value chain around it. So that's really the piece on FMCG. I'm going to quickly, in the next 5 minutes, cover on the other businesses, and then I'll leave it open for you to ask questions. We're a large player in agriculture. Over 3 million tons is what we procure. And the centerpiece of our agriculture initiative is eChopal, the digital farmer empowerment tool, 4 million farmers with the agri reforms. And I know Shiv has briefed you all on the agri reforms, so I'm not going to spend any time on it. But that opens up a new opportunity for the ITC eChopal and the agri business models for us. And through the eChopal, and I've spoken to you a lot about inclusive growth. So we don't just work. We don't just procure. We also empower farmers, and when we do it through eChopal, this is an example in UP where we work with 200,000 farmers on doubling farm income aligned to the Prime Minister's vision. And I'm happy to tell you that in 2 years, about 30,000 farmers doubled income. Balance reported 30 to 70% increase in incomes through a host of practices that are here, all kind of orchestrated through our eChopal. Let's move on, Nazim. And we are also taking the synergy to the next level, embedding some skills of brand building and product development into our agriculture business, and building up a portfolio of B2C and B2B businesses. The ITC Master Chef's snacks, some of you would have tried, and there are a host of other aids. Some of it we launched during the pandemic itself. For example, the frozen vegetables, even the smart onions. It's actually, the smart onion is not it's not a very popular product, but it's a very interesting product because you can actually cook with 20% less oil and get the same taste. So it's dehydrated, but it tastes the same as a fresh onion after you put it in a pot for 15 minutes, right? So we are not used to this, so it's not very popular. And our brands anchor value chains in India. So we are creating demand-driven agriculture and helping increase farmer incomes. Move on, Nazim. And this is another interesting example I thought I will share with you of our philosophy of Sab Saath Bade, India first. A lot of juice in India is made out of concentrate. We said that if you have to add value to agriculture, we must make it out of Indian fruits. So all our juices are made out of Indian fruits, and it's made out of pulp, which is more nutritive than concentrate. And because we have the back end, we are actually able to source the choicest fruits. So you don't just buy a mango juice, you buy Ratnagiri Alfonso mango juice. You don't buy just a guava juice, you can buy a Dakshin pink guava juice. So these are hand-picked or specially grown fruits for this premium range of juices. Let's go on. And of course, some more stuff we have done. Let's move on, Nazim. Yeah. And water, as I said earlier, is a big challenge. The agri-value chains are not going to sustain without water. So we've been creating community water harvesting structures. This is a drone image from Seor. It runs into miles and goes over, I think, 300 villages. And people tell us the last time they saw agriculture in this area was in the grandfather's time. And now people are able to do 3 crops. Let's move on to the next one. And we have 20,000 such structures. And we provide soil and moisture conservation to about 11 lakh acres so far. And we're continuing to progress this. This is just a quiz I have for you. If you can guess what this place is, you can ask me, Rachna, towards the end if I forget.
Okay.
What this place is, let's see if somebody gets it right. Okay. It's something to do with the work we do. And let's move on. And we also have the largest, the greenest, and of course, the most profitable paper business and paper road business in the country. Even our agri business has got the best financial metrics. And this has been created. We've got superior financial metric because of the business model here, which is also fashioning inclusive growth and sustainability. India never had a source of fiber. We always imported fiber. So we started to create a fiber base long back. And because farmers could not wait for 8 years to harvest a tree, we've created this fast growing saplings which grow in 4 years. And this has been done through some biotechnology research. And we have converted wastelands, worked with marginal farmers and converted them into a forest resource that is in the command areas of the factory. So we actually grow more trees than we consume. And this has become a renewable source of fiber for us and a competitive source because it's proximal to my factory. It is grown to my requirement. So I've created a competitive value chain. And at the same time, I've created 150 million man days of employment because there are only few thousand jobs in the mills. The real jobs are created in the back end. And this is what this has done. We have 8,20,000 acres today. And it also helps sequester an enormous amount of carbon. Let's move on, Nazim. And similarly, you would be surprised to hear, that most of the bamboo sticks for agarbattis in India are imported. We started planting agarbatti bamboo, the right varietals 3 years back. We're going to start harvesting next year. In the next 12 to 15 months, this will be a brand made out of only indigenous bamboo. It's a tragedy, how will inclusive growth take place in India? How will this Atmanirbhar Bharat happen if we are even going to import bamboo sticks? Where will value addition in India happen? So that's a tragedy. But as soon as we got some scale in it, we have started the work. The other area that we are working in our paper business is plastic substitute. That's a big opportunity for us. And raw stuff we have already developed. Much more is going to happen. Let's go forward. And also in line with our whole philosophy of the circular economy, we also collect a lot of consumer waste and we recycle it. And for our recycling, the recycled board, We reach out to 1 crore of citizens, teach them on waste segregation and collect the waste and bring it back. Let's go forward. Yeah. Hotels you're all familiar with. We have been building up iconic properties, iconic cuisines. It is the greenest luxury chain in the world. All our ITC Perfect hotels are Green Platinum rated. So as a young chain, we have had to do a lot of investment in the recent past. So some of the investor raised this issue of capital productivity on this, but that is because we've done a lot of investments. And I think we've also said that we've done enough. So we are now going for a more asset right strategy where we are going to, and we have the market standing now to be able to, enthuse people to hand over their properties to us to manage. That's the way we are going. And to deal with pandemic, we've also launched the Reassure program on safety. Let's go forward, Nazir. I think we are kind of done. So we are amongst the top 3 in the private sector as contributors to Exchequer. And we've got a value addition of nearly 4 lakh crores in the last 10 years. And our foreign exchange earning is about 7 billion. Let's go forward. Yeah, this is just some statistics on our scale and impact of our inclusive business model. Empowering 4 million farmers, over 8 lakh acres of forestry, 115 million person days of employment, 11 lakh acres of watershed, 20 lakh milch animals covered, nearly 8 lakh children benefiting from supplementary education. And there are many states where actually the state governments have adopted our method of pedagogy and starting to implement through their schools and so on and so forth. This is just to give you some statistics. And I'm sure you will share this pride as Indians that we are the only company in the world to be carbon positive, water positive, and solid waste recycling positive for many years in a row. Our value chain supports 6 million livelihoods. 41% of our energy consumed is from renewable sources. Let's move on, Nazir. Yeah, and just to give you some perspectives on ESG, Sustainalytics rates us as #1 globally amongst food companies, amongst peers, and #3 globally amongst all sizes of companies. MSCI ESG rates us as a AA. There are very few who get a AA rating globally. And I think that brings me to the end, really saying that we want to simultaneously create economic capital. So we have passion for profitable growth, but in a way that is sustainable and inclusive. So that brings me to the end. So I will hand it back to you, Rachna, now for questions.
Thank you.
And thank you for
Thank you, Mr. Puri. It was a very
was allotted.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you for the wonderful presentation. Like, we got a lot of insights into all the different businesses of ITC. And when you were talking about the hotel business, Mr. Puri, I would like to ask first question, and then I'll pass it on to my friends. So my question would be that due to COVID, the hotel business across the country and across the globe, they are the worst hit. And ITC being cash flow positive and zero debt, is it looking to acquire any hotel asset, or the strategy will be to continue to be asset light model? What plans do you have up your sleeves as far as hotel business is concerned, and any demerger plan on the cards?
Okay. First of all, see, as far as our hotels business is concerned, I think the concern, as I mentioned, is on ROCE, on the return on capital employed. From a profitability perspective, we are the best, most profitable. So we are dealing with this issue of capital productivity by moving from an asset heavy to an asset right strategy. Not really asset light, it's an asset right strategy. Okay. Where when we go forward, we will find that, say in the medium term, about 70 to 80% of the room additions will come through managed properties. And the balance will come through certain projects that are already on the pipeline. After these projects are complete, there'll be far and few that we will do on our own. I think we have a robust footprint after that, and we're going to really grow through managed properties. And we are getting very encouraging response, not only in India and not merely in proximal market. We were pleasantly surprised that we got actually inquiries from far off countries. And to progress that, we have renovated on our Welcome Hotel brand. For some of you who may be familiar with Welcome Hotel in Saket, so that's the brand that we are going to use more for our managed properties.
Okay.
As far as issues of restructuring and opportunities are concerned, you see, these are things that we evaluate from time to time. There is no plan at the moment. It all depends on when an opportunity arises and if we find it value accretive. Specifically on restructuring, we have said in our annual report that we will examine on hotels alternate structures, because we find that this business is now mature and can stand on its own feet. Obviously, this is not the right time to do it. It has to happen when things have come back to normal. At this time, it would be value dilutive to think of anything like this for the moment. We have to think at the right time. But we did call it out pre-pandemic. So you can say that's the direction we are moving towards. When it will happen, it will all depend on how the events unfold post-pandemic.
Okay. So we just have to wait for the right time. Okay. Meghna, I would like to request you to ask your question.
Yes, Rachna. Good evening, Mr. Puri. Sir, ITC's acquisitions of brands such as Savlon and Nimel have been major game changers for the company. So would we be seeing many more such acquisitions by ITC in the FMCG space in the future, or would it be more of an organic growth model?
See, it's a good question. We have largely grown organically.
Right.
And analysts actually say that we have created this turnover in about 1.7 to 1.9x of top line. If we had grown the inorganic route, we would have spent 4 to 5x of the top line. So we've actually managed to grow it in a more efficient fashion. Right? Having said that, there are always opportunities that could be synergistic with our portfolio, and areas where it is more efficient and effective to do it through an acquisition. So there we do it where it'll be value accretive. So out of the opportunities that come, we do evaluate it, and we will continue to evaluate opportunities going forward. Wherever we find it's value accretive, we will go for it. But I'll tell you that there are not too many great opportunities in India. There are far and few, and there are some that we did bid, we did not succeed because the value we ascribed to it was lower than what somebody else ascribed to it. Because we don't want to actually give an enormous pay too much for it and then find that we can never justify a return on it. We have to get it at the right price also. And in some cases, the quality of the asset that was being sold was not up to the mark, the books and so on and so forth. So we decided to stay away. So whatever is value accretive from that, we will certainly bid for it at the right price, and if we're quite open to it. Absolutely. But I don't see it becoming very big. There could be more happening, but I don't think it will become a dominant piece of our strategy, most unlikely.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir.
I think Neha has a question on FMCG. Neha, would you like to ask your question? And then Jyoti can come in.
Yeah, hello, sir. Sir, I wanted to know that, you are already having a formidable FMCG brand, but would like to know, would you be expanding more in the personal care section and improving more margins in that?
See, margins, as you saw, are continuing to improve in FMCG.
Yeah.
And as a result of portfolio interventions, supply chain efficiencies, absorption of gestating cost by the older category. So it's continuing to improve. So that work will continue. And we believe that trajectory will sustain. As far as personal care is concerned, I think we have a fairly good portfolio. So the first step is really to scale up this portfolio. There will be some additions happening on an ongoing basis, but I think right now, if we look at our portfolio, we have a very strong portfolio in hygiene. We have a personal hygiene, let me say. We have a strong portfolio in personal wash also with Fiamma and Vivel. We have a good portfolio in floor cleaning. We have a good portfolio in deodorants. We've also gone into skincare we bought this brand called Charmis. And we also have a homegrown premium skincare brand called Dermafique, which is in a way being incubated. We haven't done a large scale launch of it. It's being incubated. It's being developed more digitally, and at some right time we will scale it up. So we have a fairly, I think, robust portfolio. So we will be focusing on scaling this up, and selectively we will be, adding some more categories as we go forward. Even within, when I spoke about personal wash and personal hygiene, there are a lot of things. There are bars, there are sanitizers, there are disinfectant sprays, there are hand washes. So there are plenty of stuff within that. There's antiseptic liquid, a lot of stuff there itself.
Mr. Puri, you mentioned that
Thank you so
during the
much, sir.
crisis, the undercurrents, they get amplified and new trends emerge. And during this pandemic, you came up with 40 new products in the FMCG area. Any new innovation you want to, like, are you preparing for something new post the pandemic? Any new trends which you can foresee that it's like, it's going to be after the pandemic, and ITC is preparing for it?
See, it is in these times, it is very difficult sometimes to anticipate the trends because they change very fast.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do is that we prepare platforms around areas that are important to consumers, and we have center of excellences on certain sciences. So the idea is to quickly combine the two and come out with products in a very agile fashion. That's what we did during the pandemic.
Yeah,
that is one part of it. Now, what we do believe is that packaged foods is going to stabilize at an elevated level than what it was earlier. We do believe that health and hygiene products, personal wash products are also going to settle at an elevated level. Some of them have got the kind of increase in penetration that may have taken 5 years or 10 years to do. I think it will settle at an elevated level. Maybe it will drop a little. Maybe the per capita consumption will go down, but it will settle at an elevated level.
Okay.
I believe that the trend of naturals will sustain. It become even more important, and we do have a growing naturals portfolio. I do believe the trend of healthier eating will also accentuate, and we do have a portfolio that is growing in that respect also. Yes. I do believe that convenience food is going to find more meaning in people's lives, so whether it's frozen snacks or even basics like noodles, etc., will have more meaning in people's life. So we have some portfolio in that, and we have some newer innovations to keep the excitement growing in these areas.
Thank you so much. Now we have 3 Jyotis. So I will start with Jyoti Barlia, and then Jyoti Vadhva and Jyoti Shanghai. They all have one question. Yeah. Jyoti, you can come in, Jyoti Barlia.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. So my question is, that the government has announced the PLI scheme for ready-to-eat and ready-to-cook foods also. And so how do you see ITC benefiting from this scheme? And do you see a market expansion?
Yeah, this is a good step, very good step, because what the government is doing is that instead of giving incentives on inputs, it is output based, so that it's giving incentives only when there is impact and investments have happened. So it's a good construct. I think it's a very welcome way of constructing schemes. So it is certainly going to give impetus to these sectors. It's about ready to eat, ready to cook, marine products, and I think a couple of others are there which I'm forgetting. There are 3 or 4 items there on that list. So all of them will get an impetus. And if you look at it in the context of agri reforms and the other agri policy measures that have happened, that strengthens the back end. This gives an impetus to value addition. So when you put the whole thing together, we can potentially over time create competitive agri value chains. So if you look at it from a larger, if you can even envision a bigger picture about it, India has got the largest arable land in the world, but we are only 2.5% of global exports in agri. Even countries like Netherlands are bigger than us. Our value add per unit area is amongst the lowest, right? So it's a big opportunity to transform that sector, and that will, and I explained to you how much food is required in the world going forward. So potentially it can create a lot of economic multipliers over time. However, I do not know, the details of the scheme are not been announced as yet. So I don't really know the details, so I can't really comment. But conceptually, this is how I see it. This is how I envision it, and this is how it could unfold and actually create big impact and opportunities for companies and big impact to the economy.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jyoti, Wadhwa, you can come in.
Good evening, Mr. Puri. Taking the similar thing forward, when you launched e-Chopal in 2000, I don't think it was even in your thought that farm bill will come, and now it has come. So how much returns do you think you will get better on this, as agri is one of your main fortes?
Sorry, I was not able to hear.
She's asking about the farm bills, like how it will impact.
Okay. So you see, you have to, I think, look at it as I was just saying, that look at it in totality, the farm bills, and also look at all the policy interventions of FPO, cluster-based business organizations, agri infrastructure funds, and so on and so forth. So what is going to happen is going to bring in a lot of efficiencies in the back end, and a lot of efficiencies in transaction cost, and actually production is going to bring in efficiencies. So we are going to reorganize our supply chains, and we have said that we will have 3,000 FPOs with 1 million farmers as members over a period of time. So this is going to bring in efficiency, and we're going to use our e-Chopal to digitally empower that whole ecosystem. And when you're doing it through FPOs, the advantage is it gives you economies of scale. There are certain things on digital technologies that are not possible at a farmer to farmer level. If I want to do remote sensing and I try to put a sensor in each farmer's land, it's very expensive. But if I do a combination of sensors plus imaging, when I do it in a cluster organization, it makes the economics better. Right? And then there is the whole issue of delivery of these digital services to the farmers, because farmer is not so evolved like some of us that you just put it on the website and he's going to go there. There needs to be some education and demonstration for him. So when you bring it in this way, then the delivery brings up efficiency. So all this, therefore, brings in scalability. And the government is also constructing an agri stack. Now, agri stack is going to have a lot of farmer basic information on farm records, credit history, weather details, agronomy practices, seed varietals. All this will be there in agri stack. So then all the digital players can take the data from the agri stack and process it and add some supplementary data and create solutions for the farmers. Right? So this is going to bring a lot of scalability, going to bring a lot of efficiencies. That's how it will pan out. And it's difficult at this point of time to put any metric to it, but it is going to, I think, materially change the game.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jyoti Shanghai, it's your turn. Please come in.
Good evening, sir. With emerging of e-commerce in the pandemic now, do you think small and newer company in FMCG segment will be challenged for the established brand like ITC, as spending behavior of customers have been changed a lot?
We have traditionally seen in India that small regional players, big Indian players, and multinationals all have succeeded. There have been periods where actually regional players have beaten multinationals and big players. There have been periods where the others have done well. So it's been, if you do a long-term history, there have been ups and downs. Right? So it all depends on the strategy, business models, and the intervention each company takes. Small businesses have their own advantages of being very agile, nimble, very sharp, targeting a certain area. I think there are advantages there, right? So and big companies have advantage of scale, advantage of infrastructure. So each one has its pros and cons. So I think each can stay and conduct business. The challenge in the challenge that has impacted sometimes on the smaller segments in India is more around this formalization of the economy and issues of liquidity. Consequently, that has had a little dampening effect. In the pandemic, also many of the small players have come back, and even in Calcutta we have some very prominent, regional players, and they're doing well. So I would not say that they cannot compete. I think this is a sector where it's got a vibrant small and medium enterprise, and they will be there to thrive also.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Puri, Shalini wants to ask that are you planning to open a flagship store of ITC products?
Well, that is something that has been asked of me in almost every AGM. So, but we are right now actually evaluating it, thinking about the pros and cons, because we have a huge portfolio, and because some of our products are new, brands are new, the accessibility is not great because small outlets tend to keep a smaller assortment. They don't have space to keep, so they want to keep brands that have got a high throughput. So sometimes our newer brands get left out. So to expose the consumers, there is a thought, let me say, but we haven't quite decided whether we'll do it or not. We're thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay. Paridhi, you may come in.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Sir, high percentage of your free cash flow is committed to be paid out as dividend. What will be the capital allocation policy for ITC in the next couple of years? Will major investment continue to happen in the FMCG sector, or will there be a further diversification?
So at the moment, we very clearly said we're going to focus on the sectors that we are into right now.
Okay.
And we would like to deepen our engagement there. At the moment, there is no plan of getting into anything more. Of course, there will be adjacencies within FMCG, particularly there are lots of opportunities. Now, on your question of capital allocation, see, the capital allocation policy was brought out after a thorough review, because one of the sectors, which I said is the hotels, which we are moving from a high investment intensity to an asset-right strategy. So capital requirement there will be much lower. As far as FMCG is concerned, there's a lot of capex that has gone in for creating the manufacturing facilities, and some are in the final stages where the cash flows have happened. I mean, it's more closer to commissioning now. So we are first phase of our investments in consumer goods facilities are kind of coming to an end, and after that they will be more calibrated. And what will happen more frequently is filling up machines in the infrastructure we have created, because we have created infrastructure for scalability.
Yes.
So therefore, our investment intensity is also going to moderate. And we have, other businesses which do have their normal capex that is there on an ongoing basis. So what we do expect is that about, let's say 3,000 crores or so is the kind of capex that we would require on an annual basis. And given our cash flows that we have, our dividend distribution policy very well takes care of our requirements, growth capital that we will need over a period of time. That's why we have kind of come out with this.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, Dineet, you can come in with your question.
Good evening, sir. So my question is again on the acquisition, sir. ITC past acquisitions have been a mixed bag. One of the acquisitions that you had was Sunrise Private Limited. It can be a market leader in the branded spices segment. What are the strategies that the company is using to do that?
Okay. So first of all, I would kind of differ with you. I don't think acquisitions have been a mixed bag. I think our acquisitions have been immensely successful. Okay. Savlon has multiplied 50 times. Nemail in 2 years has multiplied
of course.
3-4 times, etc., etc. So acquisitions have done well. We have been, if at all, I'm normally asked why are we so, what should I say, not so aggressive in acquisitions. I'm always asked the question the other way around.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So as far as Sunrise is concerned, it's like this. There are 2 or 3 reasons why we went for a spices acquisitions.
Yeah.
So we have a spices brand under Aashirvaad.
Yes.
Now it has met with success in only some parts of the country.
Okay.
And one of our consumer insight tells us that, and you know better on this as in your role as housewives, that housewives are very averse to changing the spice brand because that can spoil the whole dish, the measurement. So they are used to something because the intensity of chili powder even and so on, taste can change. So they have great resistance to change.
Yes.
And spices is a very fragmented market, right? So that was one. Second is, Aashirvaad cannot support the non-vegetarian range of blended spices. It starts creating a noise in the consumer's mind when Aashirvaad is associated with them. Although the spices are vegetarian, but when you say a non-veg, it doesn't go well. Okay. So these were the reasons that we felt that in the spices game, and we have a very strong back end. We are a large exporter of spices also. So there's a lot of back end synergies. So spices is an interesting play for us, given the back end synergies, distribution capabilities. So that's why we were looking at something, and we decided to buy Sunrise because in this part of the world, see, the penetration of branded spices is lower as compared to, say, a Kerala. There was a similar buyout that happened in Kerala, for example. You would have read about it.
Yes.
But in Kerala, the penetration of branded spices is already very high. Unlike here, it is in the I think is in the mid 40 to 50 kind of range. I don't remember the exact figure. So there is headroom to grow besides the overall consumption growing. So the valuations are premised on the potential of growth. That's why this was interesting to us. And it has got started to make some small footprint outside of Bengal also. So we can scale it up here. And we will also, of course, explore it in other parts of the country also. That is the idea, that we will take it to other parts also. So that's the real idea for why we have acquired it. It's just been 2-3 months, but I would say so far not bad.
Yes,
Right.
And I'm sure we'll see ITC being the market leader for sure. It will happen. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear that.
Absolutely. Our wishes. Mr. Puri, one last question. If you're not hard pressed for time, one last question. Can I take it?
No, you can go ahead for a few minutes. There's nothing so that you want to. We have to.
Okay. 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 Fine. So Anuradha Kaul and Chetna Khetan, they have one question each. Chetna, would you like to come in, or Anuradha?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Puri, could you throw some more light on the infotech vertical of ITC, please?
Okay. Yeah. So, see, this vertical has two roles. One is, digital is very important to our strategy, and we wanted to we have created this backend, which is the infotech vertical that also supports our strategic plan of digitization. And actually, we have made tremendous progress on digitization. And just to give you some, it's both at the front end and the back end, but just to give you some example, which you can connect to financial metric. If you go to our paper segment results, you will find in the recent past a lot of margin expansion. So one of the contributors, of course, there are also industry tailwinds. There is some BCTMP investment we have made, but one important play has happened is through Industry 4.0 application there. Right? So it is strategic to us, digitization, number one. Second is, ITC with a diverse range of verticals that we are into, that gives us domain expertise. So when we blend this domain expertise with technology skills, we can come out with some unique solutions for the market. That is the philosophy behind it. So we brought in, we were largely managing this company with in-house talent, and about 2 years back or 3 years back, something like that, we took a view that a little longer than that, we took a view that we will bring in industry leaders to come and run this business and scale it up, because we have now a good foundation and we have some strengths there. So if you look at it in the last 3 years itself, the bottom line for that business, and we have somebody from Infosys who leads that business now, has gone from under 50 crores to last year was close to little less than 200 crores, and it's doing well also this year, and it will scale up. So that's the whole premise we are going on, is the blend of domain and technology expertise. And this is the best time to do it because the digital technologies that have now come up today are technologies that are directly impacting business. Compared to the earlier technologies of ERP, etc., which were more around transaction processing and optimization, today's digital technologies can give you business results. And we have the practitioners' knowledge and technology experts. We're blending the two together to take it to the market. That's the whole idea.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Puri. I was wanting to ask your Wills lifestyle stores with their, garments and apparel. Have you closed it down?
Okay. So, well, that was one business that did not perform to our expectation. So we've restructured in the sense we have shrunk the business. We had two brands, Wills Lifestyle and John Players. John Players we've sold off to Reliance Retail. Wills, for obvious reasons, we don't intend to sell. We'll keep it with us, but we have shrunk it. We have shrunk it, and we are largely liquidating some stuff that we have with us. And unless we have a specific value proposition that we believe will make us win in the market, we are not going to come back on it. We will kind of just shrink it further. So that's why you find that the stores are
closing down.
Yeah, they're in some of our hotel stores are running because we are we have the real estate there and we want to liquidate some of our old stuff. What's happening?
Thank you.
Mr. Puri, tobacco company Philip Morris International, they have said that the cigarette sales could end within a span of 10 to 15 years in many nations. And few of the friends also, they want to know a little bit more about the cigarette business, if you could throw some light on it and your views on this.
See, as far as the Philip Morris statement is concerned, that is more to, I think it's more to drive home the point of some of their newer categories that they have come out with, which are being allowed in some countries it is not being allowed. So that's another subject. I think is more aligned to that than anything else. As far as India is concerned, see, in India, the challenge we face, the main challenge we face in this segment is this issue of excessive taxation. Between 2011 and I think till about 16, if I am not mistaken, the tax went up 3 times.
Okay.
And the CAGR is some 15% plus on the taxes, but the CAGR on revenue collection is under 5%. So it has not really worked.
Okay.
In the GST transition, we had a small increase in the budget, 6%, and then in GST time 13, total 20% in that year. That was also a big hit. This was despite the confirmed understanding that it is supposed to be revenue neutral. In fact, when the GST was announced, actually the tax rate was lower. So you may have, those of you who follow ITC stock may have seen that suddenly the stock spiked.
Yeah.
Right. So then, because it's a complex taxation, it's a multi-point taxation, so it's complex to calculate.
Yeah.
Then the government said we are going to correct it and bring it to revenue neutral. Then they overcorrected and actually made it 13% higher. So we were unfortunate in that. So we had a big hit that year. Then for about 18 months, it was kind of stable. In that period of stability, taxes went up by about 9 to 10%, which is largely volume-led growth. So the legal industry could recover from illegal. So that was the situation. Then of course we had another increase in February, but more importantly, after that there is this pandemic event that has happened. So real challenge has been to do with taxation. And India is a market with 1 in 4 cigarettes is smuggled. In fact, a DRI official in Gujarat once made a statement that it's now more attractive to smuggle cigarettes than gold. And recently, there are some media reports you'd have seen yesterday that cigarette smuggling during the pandemic has gone out eightfold. Right. So that is the issue with this industry. That's the challenge this industry faces. And in periods of stability and in periods of better economic performance, that is when livelihoods, etc., get created, I think the industry is able to fight the illegal and actually get back volumes in times of severe taxation. And particularly if it's a situation where the economic situation is not so good, the consumer may be feeling some stress and therefore shifts to illegal products. So that's the challenge, and I think it depends on that. I am hoping with that, with the data that I shared with you and our continuous and Tobacco Institute of India's continuous engagement with policymakers, they will appreciate this rationale. And while we do respect the societal concern and the government's need for tobacco control, but it does not help if actually the trade is shifting from legal to illegal, and then Indian farmers also lose, governments also lose taxation. Government itself is losing 15,000 crores in taxation every year, and then Indian companies lose. So I hope that argument will be kind of given adequate importance. During the pandemic time, of course, as you all know, in the initial period, only essential goods were allowed, and cigarettes was not essential. A lot of the outlets were closed; it was restricted. So it is as the restrictions have eased, and that's really started happening from towards September and then October. So it is progressively getting back. I would say it is progressively normalizing. So as the economy normalizes, as mobility gets back to normal, as people start living their life in the way they were prior to the pandemic, I think that's the trend that this industry also will mirror. But this is more a transient issue. The structural issue is the first piece that I told you.
Absolutely. I think most of the questions are covered, Mr. Puri, but we are waiting for the quiz. So, and then after that, we'll find.
Any guesses you have got? Any guesses you have got?
Anyone, please, you can write on the chat box. Yeah, people had written Kerala, backwater. Okay. Yeah, one person has written Karnataka.
One person has got it right.
Is it? Who's got it right? Oh, Rajasthan, wonderful.
Ritu Dhanuka and Rachna Bhagat now have got it right.
Yeah, it's actually Rajasthan. It is a place called Pondi in Rajasthan. I just wanted to show you, this was an area that was almost like a desert. This is the place where we also did community water harvesting of the type that I showed you, the pictures. So this is how the area transformed after the community water harvesting structures. So just to give you an example of the impact this interventions can have. So that's why I had actually put up this picture.
Commendable, truly commendable. Wow. Thank you so much. Now I would like to request Meghna, our Vice President, to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Rachna. Sir, it's been a great honor, Mr. Puri, to have a dynamic leader like you at our forum today. ITC's journey over a century has indeed been one of extraordinary transformation. And today it is one of India's most valuable and admired multi-business enterprise, as well as being rated among the world's best big companies. It's also heartening to see that creating national value has been given so much importance, along with living up to the Sab Saath Bade philosophy, which you were mentioning. The way you all have empowered and improved lives of different parts of society, from farmers to rural women, is commendable. Thank you, Mr. Puri, for giving us your valuable time and giving us deep insights into the consumer trends and unraveling the ITC story for us. And also for answering all our questions so comprehensively regarding all your diverse business areas, from agribusiness to hotel sector. We wish you all the very best for your future endeavors, and especially for fulfilling the company's aspiration to be the #1 FMCG player of India. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Meghna. Thank you, Rachna. It was a
Thank you
pleasure
so
to
much.
be with you.
Amazing session,
And,
sir. Amazing.
Whatever you said about all the brands actually has made our day, made the weekend also very nice for me after hearing all that. Thank you very much,
a
and wish you
pleasure.
all the very best.
Totally
Stay
a
safe.
pleasure for us. Thank you so much.